Welcome to this episode of Hampton Roads Business Live. My name is Rory Graham, and I'm your host. And today I have the pleasure of having with me Albert Hartley from the Hartley Law Group in Chesapeake. Welcome.
Good to be here, Rory.
Yeah, we've had a chance to talk a couple of times here before we did the interview and everything. And so it's funny. You've got a take on something that a lot of people think. I mean, a lot of people, when they talk about lawyers, they just don't have a good opinion of lawyers in general. You want to talk about why that is?
Well, everybody knows the lawyer jokes.
Right.
They lead with those.
There's plenty of them.
There's plenty of them. And I think part of that is the law profession is conflict driven most of the time. Mm-hmm. So when you go there, there's usually a problem. But also it deals with the training the lawyers get at law school. It makes it very difficult for them to interact with people. Mm-hmm. Because they're trained analytically, they're trained to look at the problem. So you have this sort of stereotype of the lacks compassion and the ambulance chaser attorney. Well, some of that may be tongue-in-cheek, but some of that also sort of puts a highlight on some problems that the legal profession is facing now more than ever, which is the public opinion of lawyers is at its lowest. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is that there's a lack of education between the client and the attorney. And the attorney's there to solve these problems, and most of the time that it takes to educate the client is just too much. So they just say, I've got it, and the relationship between the client and the attorney is truly poor. And that's where a lot of these stereotypes come from about disliking lawyers.
Okay. All right, obviously you're an attorney, so
yes.
Tell us about your law firm. Give us an overview. What kind of law do you practice?
Well, we try to explain to people, we try to provide Nordstrom service in a Walmart setting, okay, which means we're looking to help clients at a most basic level, okay, provide a high level of service efficiently and economically. And what that really comes back from my training and my rearing here in Chesapeake, because my father was a contractor. I grew up around lawyers. And I felt that most of the lawyers my father would deal with were good people, but they didn't ever explain, I think, thoroughly to him everything that was going on. Maybe that was a time management problem. Maybe it was just because it was complex. So I felt like when I wanted to practice law, one of the things I wanted to do was for my law firm to, for lack of a better word, partner with my clients so that we're in this together. And it's not just me up here or them down here. It's us working together to solve the problem, which may not be what they thought was going to happen when they got to the office. Mm-hmm. Because many times clients think the problem is one thing when it's actually another.
All right, so what areas of law do you practice?
Well, when I first started practicing law, we started with real estate, because real estate is the center, and a lot of areas we've grown to handle out from there. So for example, real estate transactions, deed preparation, complex, and then we went into estate planning, helping clients with their wills, their trusts, their estate planning. Then they wanted us to help with their corporation setup, so we started doing that. So sort of the hub and the wheel is the real estate, and out from there we've even branched out now. We do a tremendous amount of personal injury work, which is sort of relies on our negotiation techniques that we've developed using real estate. So we do everything except bankruptcy and Social Security and disability. We do not handle those. Okay.
All right, and who would be a typical client for you then?
We would have a typical client that a small business owner would be a good client for us, with a family. We would handle their estate plan, we would handle their corporate matters, we would handle any tickets they might get or their children might get. We would handle any of their civil transactions throughout their life. Many of our clients have been with me since I first started practicing law, which now I've been practicing about 15 years. And so we tell people we help them cradle to grave, basically.
Okay.
Which is unique in our practice. Most people are now technicians, and we're still sort of a small general practice firm that handles a lot of things for clients.
All right, well, it sounds like you're real hands-on with the client, so you have a lot of attention to detail in talk and communication.
We try to be. We try to take that sort of customer service perspective to keep them informed. We use a lot of phone conferences. We try to meet with them. We use email, a lot of communication techniques to try to keep them.
So they always know what's going on.
We try to. That's not always the easiest thing, because sometimes things happen rapidly, but we try to slow down a little bit, educate, and then re-engage.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the challenges for clients in this technical world?
Well, things have gotten really advanced. So sometimes clients...
They're fast-paced.
They're fast-paced. And everybody wants to text or tweet or Facebook message. And the law practice has safeguards against using some of that technology. And so we're constantly battling the clients on how do we communicate appropriately, things sometimes happen slowly when it comes to the practice of law, and everybody wants it immediately. And so, we try to tell the clients we're not a fast food service. It takes a little while. And that's probably a big conflict now, because everything's so fast and the practice law really is slow.
Well, everybody's in an instant generation.
Right.
Everything's instant all the time, instant access, on demand, everything right away. And so I find that even in my business, they want, the things when they want it now, right now.
Right.
And some things you just can, and some things you can't. So
Right.
I totally agree with that.
And the added pressure for us is the longer it takes, the more cost it is, because most of our cost structures sometimes are by the hour. So that's an extra pressure for things to get done correctly. So we've added at our firm a series of flat fee services that we provide so the cost can be contained somewhat. We do contingency fees on certain things. And our relationship with the client allows them to have a long-term plan if a cost is excessive, because more work happens earlier than later, then they can pay it over time. So we try to work with them on that.
Okay, and so what's one thing that you'd like people to remember about your firm, about using you?
Well, I'll give you the perfect example. I like the fact that some of our clients stop in to see us when they don't have a legal problem. They just stop by the firm and say hi. And I think that's the greatest thing, that we've developed relationships with them even if they don't have a legal problem. And I've always felt like, how many times you just stop by your doctor's office and say, you just don't.
A better analogy would be your dentist.
Right. You don't stop by your dentist and say hi, but a lot of times the relationship we build with the client and with their families goes beyond just the practice of law, which I really like. I mean, we get invited to funerals, we get invited to weddings, we get invited to all kinds of graduations. And I think part of that is how the staff interacts with them, which is a really important distinction for our practice. Our staff is crucial in the development of the relationship with the client.
All right, and you practice in all over Hampton Roads.
That's correct.
And beyond, if you
And beyond.
if you need to. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we've actually practiced in all over the Commonwealth of Virginia at times, other states if it comes to that. But our primary focus is the 7 cities in Hampton Roads.
Okay. Is there anything I haven't covered that you wanted to mention?
No, I would just like to tell you that I think it's important that that the people understand that staff for a law firm is really the extension of the lawyer. The relationship that the staff has with the attorney, and it really reflects in the relationship with the client, because they're going to see the staff more than they're going to see the lawyer sometimes. So having the staff well trained in a customer service mindset is really important. Do they care about the client? Are they compassionate for the client? Do they understand when the client's frustrated, and how do we better communicate back and forth? So that channel of communication from my staff back to me is really crucial.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have a need in any of those categories for an attorney and would like to schedule a consultation, you can call the Hartley Law Group. Their contact information is at the end of this video and at the bottom of this page. And I appreciate you coming in. You have been very successful, and I wish you a lot more success.
I appreciate it. Thanks for letting us be here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.